The forest always looks kinder from the outside. From the edge of the road, it seems like an open invitation, a dark green cathedral of trees stretching endlessly, their branches interlocking overhead, like the arms of old friends welcoming you home. The air feels cooler near it, fresher, cleaner, alive. From a distance, it promises peace, silence, healing. But the moment your feet leave the familiar ground and step into that soil, soft with decades of fallen leaves and unseen footsteps, something shifts. The world you know fades away behind you, swallowed by foliage. Signals vanish, sounds become unfamiliar. Every breath feels watched, as though the trees themselves are leaning in to study you, to weigh you, to decide if you belong there or not. And as the last traces of daylight begin to melt into the horizon, turning the sky from blue to bruised purple, you realize how small you truly are, in a world that has existed long before you ever took your first breath. Tonight, you aren't just hearing 3 disturbing true camping horror stories. You are being pulled into the heart of them, into moments where the line between survival and surrender becomes razor thin. And somewhere inside these chilling experiences, buried beneath fear and trembling, live lessons powerful enough to reshape the way you face your own darkness. There is a silence in the wilderness that cannot be compared to anything else. It is not the comfortable hush of an empty room or the calm quiet of early morning. It is thick, alive, heavy with intention. It wraps around your body and presses against your thoughts. You begin to notice every tiny sound within yourself. Your breathing, your heartbeat, the fabric of your clothes brushing against your skin. It makes you aware of things you are not normally meant to hear. In that silence, your true fears walk closer, and your deepest memories rise up like fog from forgotten ground. It is in that silence that Daniel found himself alone, sitting by a small, flickering fire several miles away from the closest sign of human life. He had come out here thinking that quiet would save him, that the woods would soothe the busted edges of his soul and quiet the chaos inside his mind. He believed that silence was empty. He believed wrong. The first night was peaceful enough to lull him into false comfort. The insects sang their unseen songs. The wind whispered through the leaves above. He lay in his tent, staring up at the dim outline of fabric and mesh, listening to the natural symphony around him. But the second night was different. The forest did not hum. It did not whisper. It did not breathe. It simply stopped. The air was so still that the smoke from his dying fire crawled straight up like a thin, desperate ghost trying to escape the earth. That was when he felt it, the presence. Not imagined, not playful, not vague. It was certain. It was someone or something standing just outside the reach of the firelight. He did not hear a voice. He did not see a form. He simply knew. His body knew before his mind could explain it. His muscles tightened. His chest grew tight as if invisible hands were slowly closing around his lungs. The silence grew louder than a scream. And then, the faint sound of a footstep pressed down onto a snap of wood, measured, gentle, deliberate, not a stumble, not an accident. This was a step taken with purpose. Every instinct inside him was begging him to turn, to run, to cry out into the darkness. But something deeper, older than fear, took hold instead. A survival instinct, buried in his blood, from ancestors who once walked the edge of existence every night. He stared into the flames and fought the urge to blink. He fed the fire with trembling hands, stacking wood higher, watching it burst into new life, light shoving back the darkness inch by inch. In that glow, he raised his flashlight toward the trees, its weak beam slicing through the black like a pleading prayer. Nothing appeared, no shape, no eyes, only the swift retreat of something that did not want to be seen. In that moment, Daniel was reborn, not as a broken man seeking escape, but as a human being newly aware of the power of listening, truly listening to the world around him and the world within him. The silence had spoken, and this time he had heard it. He left at first light, not in shame, but in understanding. The forest had not tried to harm him. It had taught him Silence is never empty in life either. Sometimes the quiet after an argument screams that something is broken. The stillness after heartbreak warns that healing has not yet begun. The calm in a relationship may be the uneasy peace before truth rises like a storm. Most people try to drown that silence with noise, distractions, voices, screens, lies. But the brave sit with it. They allow it to reveal what it must fear. Too, is misunderstood. We are taught from childhood to see it as something to defeat, something to conquer, something that makes us weak. But in the wilderness of this world, fear is often the only thing standing between life and destruction. A group of close friends once went camping beside a dried riverbed, convinced that their laughter and closeness could protect them from anything. They shared stories over the fire, their faces glowing gold and orange, shadows dancing behind them like silent companions. By midnight, the laughter faded, eaten by the growing weight of the dark. And then, the whispers began. At first, they seemed like the wind weaving through stones, playful and harmless. But the sound took shape, forming soft syllables, slow and intentional. A name, one of their own, spoken in a tone filled with affection, recognition, familiarity. One girl felt her entire body go cold because she recognized the voice as belonging to her grandmother who had passed away years before. Every part of her wanted to follow it, to chase the echo of love into the darkness, to believe for one fragile second that her grandmother had returned. But somewhere, she remembered a warning from her culture, passed down through generations like a sacred commandment. In unfamiliar places, never follow familiar voices. Instead, she gathered her friends tightly, trembling against them, whispering for them to stay together, to stay close, to stay strong. The voice faded, eventually, swallowed by the night. What haunted them most was not what might have been hiding there, but how easily love could have been used to lure them into death. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is a messenger. It is a guardian dressed like a monster. It is the child inside you, screaming to stay alive. The feeling of being watched can turn your veins to ice. Many campers across the world have felt it, that unmistakable awareness of eyes locked onto their backs, tracking every breath and movement. In the deep woods of Eastern Europe, a group of hikers saw shadows move just beyond their firelight, figures that never stepped forward but never truly left. They wanted to believe it was imagination, or tricks of tired eyes. But one young boy could not ignore the heavy pressure in his chest, the tightening of his throat, the voice in his mind repeating, "Leave." He insisted. He begged. He cried. Finally, before dawn, they packed in desperate silence and fled the campsite. When the sun finally rose and they dared to look back, they saw footprints encircling the place where they had slept long, barefoot. Twisted, unnatural shapes pressing deep into the soil, all facing inward. The forest had been holding them in the center of a silent circle, and somehow they had slipped just in time. Darkness strips you down to who you truly are. When light disappears, when guidance is gone, when the familiar vanish, only your inner voice remains. A young woman once lost her path during a solo trail, her phone dead, her map useless, the sun bleeding out of the sky while cold crept into her bones. Panic rose like a flood, threatening to drown every thought. And yet, in the face of pure terror, something gentle stirred within her. She began to sing childhood hymns she had not remembered in years, soft melodies shaped by her mother's voice, rooted in memories of safety. The sound echoed through the trees, fragile but defiant. With every verse, her steps steadied. With every note, her mind cleared. She walked through pitch darkness, guided only by faith and intuition, until she found the trail once more. In that night she learned she had been carrying light within her all along. Nature does not bow to arrogance. It humbles the proud without warning. Two men once laughed at local legends of a cursed clearing deep in a protected forest. They set their tent there as a joke, mocking stories of ancient spirits and restless ground. Late into the night, a weight pressed down upon the tent. Slow, crushing, dragging across the fabric with an unmistakable power. They burst free and ran, hearts exploding in their chests. Days later, when courage returned enough for them to look back, they found claw marks wrapped around tree trunks far too thick for any known animal, carved at a height no ordinary creature should reach. Respect, they realized, is not superstition. It is survival. Some campsites are never truly empty. A family once chose a scenic overlook to rest beside, unaware of the tragedy that had once bled into that soil. As night fell, they heard muffled conversations drifting from the unoccupied tent beside theirs, whispers between no one. Instead of panic, they chose compassion. They bowed their heads, praying for peace, speaking kind words to whatever lingered there, acknowledging unseen pain. Slowly, the voices softened, then faded. Sometimes, horror is just grief that has forgotten the path home. Courage is not the loud hero of movies. It does not always roar or charge into danger. Sometimes it is a quiet decision wrapped in calm hands. A teenage boy, lying stiff and awake against the cold ground, sensed a wrongness in the air. No sound announced it. No figure revealed it. And yet, he knew. He gently shook his father awake, his voice barely a whisper, explaining an unexplainable dread. They packed what they could and left before sunrise. Later, authorities revealed an escaped criminal had been hiding in the area, armed and unstable. The boys' silent bravery saved their lives. And when everything else fails, logic, strength, direction, the soul becomes the final battlefield. A lost hiker, exhausted and broken, fell to her knees beneath a sky full of uncaring stars. With tears staining her cheeks and dirt under her fingernails, she prayed with raw surrender, promising change, gratitude, transformation if only she could find her way back. As dawn painted the sky, a narrow path appeared where none had been before, carved through tangled branches and thorns like an answered plea. Whether miracle or mind, she followed it and lived. From that day on, she never walked without purpose. These disturbing true camping horror stories are not only about terror in the trees, they are about the wild places inside the human heart. The places we avoid, the places we silence, the parts of ourselves that tremble when alone. They teach us that awareness is power, that humility is strength, that fear is guidance, and that courage is often as gentle as a whispered prayer. If you ever find yourself lost in the woods in life, in your own thoughts, remember this. Even in the deepest darkness, something within you is still burning. Still watching, still guiding, still surviving, and may the same force that protects the quiet forest at dawn stand guard over your heart, your mind, your path. And every step you take through unknown shadows, until light finds you again, and peace settles gently into your soul, and the unseen hands that move the world keep you safe, keep you strong, keep you guided, keep you sheltered, and may every fear you face become the doorway to wisdom. Every silence the start of understanding. Every night a passage to dawn. Every whisper a reminder that you were never meant to walk alone. And as the unseen watches from the trees and the quiet answers every prayer, may you walk forward with faith, with courage, and with a heart that refuses to surrender immediately.